Wealth, yoga, wine. Welcome to my podcast. This is what I would love to have happen in my life. Shares with us the ways to get this to happen. It's powerful to write your list. And this is not a bucket list. Remember, this is what you would love to have happen to you in your life. And there is a scientific proof that writing creates a magnet between our left and right brain. You can't do your life list on your iPhone, on your iPad, on your laptop, on your computer. You really have to write it with a pen or a pencil, because you're creating a magnet. You're creating a magnet that's going to help you create the life you really want. And it's just a list. Use your imagination. Just go for it. For instance, I'm 65, and by the time I'm 80, I want to learn how to fly a plane, a dual-engine plane. Might end up with a single-engine plane. And that's one of the things on my life list. What's important when you do your life list is that you understand that your subconscious is really what's guiding these big dreams into action steps, which is where your conscious comes into. For instance, when you are writing your list, and even throughout the day, it's important that you think of what you would love to have happen. That word don't use. For instance, I want to move to a really beautiful community next year. Sometimes I will be riding my bike and I'll see another community that in a way would make me feel as though I was settling for less because it's less money, I guess, or it just doesn't have all the amenities that I want in this new neighborhood. And I'll say to myself, no, I don't want to live there. That's exactly what you want to avoid, that word don't. Instead say, I'm not settling for less. I'm living in such and such neighborhood. Therefore, when you start your life list, remember, title it, This is what I would love to have happen in my life. Mary gives the example of Lou Holtz, who was a famous coach. And he coached successfully for several years, since I believe 1976. I'm not good with football. He was fired in his early 20s, his very first coaching job, and he went into a deep depression. It was his wife who said to him after several months, Lou, just write what you would love to have happen in your life. And that's how this list came about. Now, in my lifetime, my person to go to is Tyler Perry and Simone Biles. But let's talk about Tyler Perry. If you don't know this young man, of course he's in his 50s, I think now, he created a huge film and studio castle, a whole community in the heart of Atlanta. He bought, this is amazing, he bought the previous Fort McPherson. He has built several studios and amazing buildings. The really cool building that he has built is called the Dream Building. And I'm going to put that in the podcast details, a must watch. What's important about Tyler Perry, though, and knowing how to wrap this into this is what I would love to have happen in my life, is that he met failure after failure after failure before he became a successful playwright. He tells you he slept in his car. He did not have a good father. He was abused in so many ways. I don't need to talk about it. But do your research. I'll include 2 YouTube videos about him. And this is a man who really followed that path. This is what I would love to have happen in my life. At the end of the film, of the YouTube film, he tells you when he's leaving his dream building, when you dream it and you act on it, you'll get it. Love that guy. Kundalini Yoga. This is the world's oldest yoga. They address such topics as prosperity, abundance, anti-aging, beauty secrets, anger, strength. This is one of the most amazing yoga practices. I don't even know about the other ones. I have been practicing Kundalini Yoga for 26 years now because of the pandemic virtually. I decided to put on this podcast details different websites that you can visit. This way you can do your own research. There are several that you can dig into to find more information. You can sign up for virtual classes. You can find male and female teachers. 3HO is one of the first websites, and that stands for Healthy, Happy, and Holy. I have been studying with them for years, actually 20 some odd years. Many of the teachers learned their training through 3HO. Try saying that fast. I have done Winter Solstice in New York City, which was a program created by 3HO. I have gone to their Winter Solstice in in Florida, many years ago. Won't do that again. The hardest thing I've ever done. So was White Tantric, though. You can really create a whole new person in a good way when you involve yourself with weekend programs or even day-long programs. Another interesting website is SeekNet. Sikhs are one of the world's oldest warriors, actually. They are no longer warriors, but they do practice a very serious Kundalini Yoga belief system that's interesting to explore also. The other websites that I would suggest is Guru Jagat's website, Rama TV, where you can peruse several online kriyas and classes. She also created the Aquarian Business School. You'll have several websites in which to delve into more Kundalini Yoga issues and instruction. That's just in case you don't believe me when I tell you how amazing Kundalini Yoga is. And lastly, wine. Champagne to me is one of the most misunderstood creations out there, especially to Americans. They like to call anything that's bubbly champagne or champagne. Let's really give champagne the credence and the honor and respect it deserves. Champagne is one of the most difficult wines to produce. Technically, it takes 2 or 3 years just for the house blend, and put that in quotation marks. The house blend is what the Champagne house is going to be known for, its quality. For instance, Bilkar Saman, its first tier of Champagne will take 2 or 3 years to produce. What they do is they go to their own vineyards, the really good houses, and they have blended Chardonnay, Petit Meunier, and a little bit of Pinot Noir. They take these from their specific vineyards, they vinify them, and then it's fermented in the bottle. And it's always the same year in and year out. That's what they strive for. And this is very, very technical. 2 other aspects that make Champagne expensive and technical is the double fermentation. It ferments the first time in the bottle, then they have to do a second fermentation where they include a dosage. Think of the dosage as just adding homemade syrup that they have created on their own, a special secret sauce. They actually freeze the neck of the bottle, uncork it, put the dosage in, and then recork it. That is expensive. And lastly, the other expensive and pricey aspect and technical is the riddling. They literally turn every bottle by hand, just a little bit, 1/4 of an inch. That is why Champagne can be so expensive. And it's a huge difference. Prosecco, Cava, Cremant have nothing in common, nothing with Champagne. So let's give Champagne its due credit and understand why it is so pricey, because it is very technical to produce. A good bottle of champagne that's just first tier, I would expect you to spend about $45 to $50 at the minimum. And to close this out, this is what I would love to happen in my life. Start that life list. Doesn't have to be done in a day. Take a long time to write this thing, but write it. Don't put it in your iPhone. Don't put it on your iPad. Don't put it on the computer. You can after you write it. Kundalini Yoga websites, lots of information to peruse and sign up for specific classes. Even you can go on retreats. And lastly, champagne. Very misunderstood. People get confused with it. Champagne is from Champagne, and make sure it says Champagne, France, not Moet or Chandon, whatever it is up in California. In conclusion, I am not a life coach. I am not a consultant. I create this podcast on a weekly basis to help hundreds of people every day all over the world. Mary Morrissey, Bob Proctor, Matt Boggs all have master classes, which I include on the podcast details. They are free. They would love for you to sign up for a multi-week class. I would too, because that's how I pay my mortgage. Merci.